just saying in general.
I'm saying in general, in order to talk about this, like we have to have a definition.
Yeah,
so
100%.
What
but
would
I
you
would
say
say
is
mental abuse comes in all shapes or form. That's manipulation, that's control. It's right across the board, however you want to see it. But what I would say is that, you know, especially women, you know, you have really strong women. Like we would say us three here are very strong women. However, things that we may not tolerate or we may stand up to, another woman won't do that. Everyone's an individual, everyone's different. But we can't sit there and say, just because you retract your statement or you consent or you say, okay, actually, this is what happened, I've changed my mind. We can't sit there and say, we don't believe you, because mental abuse does exist. 100% it does.
I'm saying we need evidence.
100%
and we need
evidence.
to go to court before we make an assumption about someone.
But how many times in court, like, have you seen there's been a case and it's been like, okay, the evidence has shown the person's not guilty, but really and truly the person probably is guilty. Let's be honest.
I mean, but you have to go off of the evidence.
I mean, I don't
but with
personally
cases like this, it's especially when you kind of see grape cases, let's say, there's not a lot of evidence. That's why a lot of people get let off and X, Y, and Z, and people retract statements. So I think it's hard to say, oh, let's go to court, because you don't always have that evidence to back up what you're saying is true.
Or confidence as well. Someone may not be confident enough, and as well, some women are embarrassed. They feel like, you know, I don't want to put all my business out there in court for everyone to know what's going on. I don't want my business in the media or for everyone to come up to me and say X, Y, and Z. And especially if someone is, you know, of a certain status and has certain financial backgrounds, they're thinking, I'm scared. I don't want that person to come for me now. So they may retract their statement. So personally speaking, like I said before, mental abuse does exist. And I think, you know, we can't sit there and...
You can't define it.
I can define it.
Okay, what would you
define? I don't want to define it. I mean, it comes in so many shapes and forms. I don't have to define it.
But but I'm saying you do if you're going to talk about it.
But I think anyone...
mental abuse comes in all shapes and forms, and you can't even say what it is.
I can actually, but I could sit here and say, do you know what mental abuse is? Do you know what it is?
No, because the problem is when we make these broad definitions, you're accusing men of things.
I didn't accuse anyone.
No, but when you're saying mental abuse is real.
I said it happens.
Okay,
Do you agree with mental abuse?
You're saying that mental abuse is real and all of these things happen, and it's painting a picture of men. And when you don't define what it is, because even sexual assault and rape, like we don't even have a clear definition of what those are.
I'm so interested about how. No, I'm just really interested how, again, in that statement. I mean, we started off about, you know, what is abuse, kind of coming from that point, and you immediately said that we're painting a certain picture about men. Like that, because
we actually
think rape is rape, whether it's
men or women.
Men or women. Back to your point around what is mental abuse, I think, you know, Naomi makes a really good point about it's very hard to define mental abuse. And I think the reasons why is there's many different tactics that involve mental abuse. For example, control of finances could be a form of mental abuse. Gaslighting. So, oh, you think this happened? No, it didn't. Oh, I'm pretty sure it did. Let's run the tapes. There aren't always tapes in life. We can rewind this video. We can't do that in life.
Abuse. That's just a liar.
Okay, so is lying not abuse?
No, I don't think that's abuse.
Why not?
I wouldn't. I would define abuse.
How would you define lying?
What?
Lying.
Not telling the truth. I mean, the average person lies 3 times a day. So I don't think everyone's abusive.
In the context of relationships?
Yeah, in relationships. The average person. Who are you lying to? People that you have relationships with.
Okay, yeah. But in the context of one person has more power than the other as a result of telling that lie. If you're in a relationship and someone says...
Who defines who has more power?
That's part of the question. That's what I'm asking. This is part of the fun of defining things,
I'm
right?
saying I don't think that lying is mental abuse. I think that's a stretch.
Okay, so that's your definition. You see how
everyone has different definitions.
No, I wouldn't really... I think mental abuse, I don't really know what it is because women use the term so broad. No, I'm saying I don't use the term. Like in general, I don't talk about it. But I'm saying women use that term so broadly that I think it's lost the definition. I don't even know what it is.
I was going to say, ladies, same I suggested to you. When's the difference between good business and manipulation? Because let's say you work in a 9-to-5 job and your manager suggests if you don't do a task properly, you're going to be in trouble. So would you agree that's some form of mental abuse? Or does that not make the sort? Because that causes a lot of stress. That could put someone in a certain way. But as soon as we come away from the work aspect and it comes a bit more personal, why do things change in that respect?
I think everyone has a motive. Like you can kind of, with the work example you just had, if you're working a 9 to 5 and if you haven't done your work, which is like in your contract, and there's going to be backlash because you're being paid to work. If you're taking that same stance for being at home, for example, and it's like your husband or wife said, oh, if I come home and the washing up isn't done, then there's going to be consequences.
But it's the same concept. I'm saying your manager's saying to you before you even started the task, if you don't do this, you could possibly be fired. So is that not a form of abuse?
I think we obviously, again, this is the lovely thing about having these debates, because there's different definitions, right? For me personally, I think if it's at the detriment to someone's human dignity, that's abuse.
100%.
So dignity is in like,
then what
is your well-being
Or earning
contact
money on the day. So
Yeah.
I definitely
What
define that as
mental
abuse.
abuse is.
Anyone at work that will tell me something's going to happen to me before I've even done it. But then we make it a lot more different when it comes to relationships. And I'm not saying that that's what you ladies are fighting for, but I just find it interesting. That's what we do as humans.
Yeah, I think humans are super complex. This is why it's a great thing to discuss.
Emotional abuse involves attempts to frighten, control, or isolate you. That's what they says online.
It's cool.
So by that definition, everyone's kind of said does fit into it.
I wouldn't say lying. That would really fit into it.
But what's the lying? What's the ends to the lying? Like
Well, I think then that's
And this is why your point about intention comes up, you know?
Intention, what do you mean?
So Tam was making a point about kind of like motivation and intention behind stuff. So I guess, is the lie to exert a sense of control, power,
To gain
manipulation?
power,
I think intentions is stupid because you're never going to know someone's intentions. So
Correct.
like,
you can't mind
so who
read.
cares?
But you can't mind read someone's intentions, right?
I think
you're
sometimes
quite right.
some people
But
don't even
the
know what their
outcome,
intent is.
Yeah.
But I would argue with you. I'd say intention does matter. Like to say who cares is not. It's not fair. Because even like in the law, intention matters. Like if you slip and fall and someone dies as a result, you didn't intend to do that. You don't go to jail in the same way that if you planned that. So I think intention matters. Figuring that out is a different thing, but it's hard. I wouldn't agree with you to say it doesn't matter. Who cares?
I guess because, for example, let's say you're walking and say you're at carnival, someone throws a bottle at you, at one of us. It hits your head. And then you're, oh my gosh, I'm hurt right now. And they say, oh, there's no intention there.
It was an accident.
Doesn't matter.
I guess.
Does it matter? How do you feel at that point?
I guess you're right in the eyes of the law, but like, I just think the results matter.
Yeah,
so like, I don't really give a
matter.
shit. Like, okay, if somebody hit me with their car on accident or on purpose, I don't give a shit. I got hit by a car.
Because the outcome's the same. Exactly.
So you're right in the eyes of the law, sure, but just personally, I'm like, I don't really give a shit.
Yeah,
what someone's intentions are.
you've hit the nail on the head there. You've hit the nail on the head because the outcome is the same, which is pain.
No. But let's try this. I like that.